This is going to be hopefully not too long tutorial for my students at York College CT 101. We're going to be looking at the DS 106 assignment, Pop Star Out of Place. What's good about it is it allows you to learn some basics of doing cutouts and using layers in Photoshop. So they picked, we are going to be working with Britney Spears in a church choir. So it's these two images which we found. I recommend using image search tools and make sure you work with large images, all right? Because you always want to have a lot of resolution to work with. So I'm going to quickly save these. Control save. Put this on the desktop. We have Britney. Church choir is already named well. All right. So this is actually going to be for someone who's never done Photoshop before. So we're going to hit a couple basics. We're going to open these two images. All right. Uh-oh. It doesn't like my Britney image. Killing me. We are going to export it from using preview, troubleshooting on the fly here. Just did a quick export to a JPEG from a PNG. Hopefully that will solve our problem. It did. Good. All right. Things to note really quick are percentages for each image. This one is at 66.7%. I'm going to use the space bar and command key. I'm going to be using my left hand. I'm a righty, so I use my left hand to select keyboard options, which you're not going to see. But the command and space bar allows you to, and then option allows you to zoom in and zoom out on Britney's chest. So that's 100% where you're seeing every pixel on the screen, where this is a much higher resolution image. You can see it's at 16.7%. So as I zoom in, that's 100%, okay? You can look at an image's size under image size and see its actual pixel dimensions. This is a huge 5,578 pixels by 3,665 pixel image. This image, on the other hand, is image size, 1,024 by 1,024. So the first thing I have to do is I have to get these images into the same file. The easiest way to do that I like to do it, is just do edit, or I just do Command A to select all, which, there it is. You could, under select, you can select all, and then you can do your classic copy, edit, Command C, go to this image and go edit, paste. All right, and so you can see it's much, much smaller image. All right. So we would either have had to make this choir image smaller, or we can instead make Britney's image bigger. But note in the layers area, now we have two layers. We have a background layer, and we have another layer that's layer 0. And I'm going to double click on that and just name it Britney. And I can zoom in. And when I hold just the space bar, I can move around with the image, within the image while moved in. Now each of these are separate tools. There's this hand tool to move within the image. There's the move tool to move an object within a layer, which is this. Okay. And then you can even use the switch to the magnifying glass. But these two tools right here you can get access to, as I was describing, just by getting used to using the keyboard, and that's very important. So the first thing I want to do is let's get Britney about the same size, and I'm going to use Edit Transform Scale, and it creates, and that's Command T. It creates this bounding box with handles on it, and I can distort, which I don't want to do. And even when I grab the corner, it can get distorted. In order to avoid distortion, we hold down the Shift key while we grab a corner. And when I do that, I maintain the aspect ratio of the original image. That's about right, isn't it? What do we think? Good? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so now Brittany's but she has this big block. So there's a lot of different ways. So you can think about it. I need to erase all this stuff around her, okay, and then around this edge in these spaces, right, and then on this outside edge. Now, if this was a single color, like if the background was black, we could try a selection tool that's going to, there's a lot of selection tools like this is one of the, you can try to make a selection, but they're based on picking similar colors. So this is not going to work very well. My favorite tool is the pen tool, but for a basic class, that'll drive people crazy, where I can literally draw a line perfectly along the curve of her body, and then in these interior spaces, and then turn it into a selection and delete it. But for this class, because it's a basic, let's just stick with the eraser tool. With the eraser tool, like a lot of tools, they have brush sizes. You can see it's set at 40 pixels wide. And you're like, that's so tiny. It's only tiny in the context of where we are, the size of the image itself. So 40 pixels wide is pretty not too bad. And I can start to use it, and I can hand draw. I can also use a clever option, which is the Shift key. So I can advance, and every time I click, it deletes that spot. It goes to the next spot. And so this is kind of just using the Shift key is really, and you can see this is going to take me a while. And when I edit this video, I'm going to cut out this part. This doesn't feel right, though, by the way. Just so you know, we're on a college campus, and we're not objectifying anyone. We're just doing a really, really sassy DS-106 assignment. Still doesn't feel right. And so it's smart to kind of do the outside edge with a smaller brush to kind of set this kind of buffer area. Probably don't even need to do that area. You know what that area is, right? And I'm still using that Shift key, so I'm advancing. You can just draw, and now this is not using the Shift key. And sometimes that's good where you get these more like wavy lines. But when I get to these straighter lines, it's probably smarter to use the Shift key so it looks smoother. And so, like a lot of image editing, there's a lot of patience that's required, and you have to, be okay with the time. And sometimes, as like other students, it's like think about the result. Don't think about like I wish it didn't take this long. Think about like this is going to look really funny and be really awesome when it's done, but you have to be patient enough to get through the process of creating a pretty clean, oops, switched away from it, line. All right, and let's get in here. And you can see if I want to make the brush smaller, there's the brackets that are to the left of the P. You can make it smaller or bigger just by clicking the bigger and small, the brackets buttons. Those are very useful. You can also work on what's called the hardness of the edge. You can see these are a feathered edge, all right? And these are very useful for paintbrushes and weather. And as I reduce the hardness of the edge, you're going to see it kind of blurs the edge. I don't want to use a blurred edge for this right now, but you can see how that's useful as well, depending on where you are. So I can quickly go in here and make this a little bit smaller as I do this part, and then go back to bigger. Try to go a little faster here. Delete, delete, delete. All right. And so as you have these like edges kind of managed, you can go and work with the larger eraser button, a brush. Almost done with the hard part here, which is all, I've almost done with all my edges, and I'm going to get rid of all this tangled edge of hair and do a little drawing, if you will. Make this bigger using that bracket. So now I've done the hard part, so now I can start to make this a much bigger eraser tool and start doing some of these big swaths right here, right? And sometimes it's better to just kind of turn off a layer's visibility. Back in the layers palette, you can turn a layer's visibility off so you're not distracted by the background image. So you can see all the bits, because what can happen is you don't see the little pieces that you missed erasing. So now the hard part, with the hard part done, it's pretty easy to get rid of the remaining bits. And now one of the things that's nice, if you don't see it, there's a window. If you ever make a mistake, there's edit undo, but that's just one undo. If you made a bunch of mistakes and you're like, oh, I wish I had seen I did that, the Photoshop has what's called a history palette. If it's checked, you'll see it over here. And it shows the past, depending on the setting of the application. I have it set at about 30. So you can go all the way back and see these changes you've made, and then go all the way forward again. All right, and choose to fix a mistake you made that you wish you hadn't done. Almost done. Almost done. Okay, look at that. So now we have what we would call a transparent asset. I'm going to go back to the Move tool, which is with the letter V, so I can move Britney around. Yeah, she's dancing. And so she now can fit in here, and we could put her in front, and that's totally would work. And now I see maybe she should be a little bigger. I just did Command T to go to that transform tool, and I'm going to hold my space bar again. Again, that's Edit. Free transform or transform scale, and I'm going to make her slightly larger. All right, and so that works, but I kind of want her behind this person, right? Wouldn't that be great? So you could stop here, and this would be good. It would work, you know. But to have her really blend in, oh, and we could do a color change. Let's kind of have her match the space. We could start with like auto color. And so she's already a little bit better. But we could auto tone, that's not it. We could go image adjustments. We could look at let's not do that in this way. It'll be too hard. There's a lot of different things we could do for trying to match colors. We would want to make it try to match this blue. So this would require, if you think about it, if I want her in front, this person with her arm up, that means I have to cut a portion of her out and put her on another layer. So that would require, I'm going to do this, I'm going to select that layer and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to say, or actually, let's be smarter. I'm going to just select, I'm going to use this lasso tool, all right? And I just need to select a portion of this. So I'm going to say this part, I'm going to need to do the same thing and erase some of her when she's on top, okay? So I've made this area selection, and I say edit, copy, edit, paste, and now I have yet another layer, all right? Acquire member, okay, and I can see her separate. And now it's the same thing. And I moved her to the top because right now, whichever layer is selected, I can move. So right now I can move her, which I don't want to do, because if I do move it, it won't match the background. So notice if I move this person, that's going to look bad. So I need to make sure that I select the Britney layer, and I can move her. And so you can see she's behind her now, but I have to do the same thing again. I have to do a little bit of erasing. So try to do that relatively quickly. We'll go back to our eraser tool. All right. Make sure that the layer I want to work on is selected. So there's turning layers on and off. All right, remember that. But then there's also selecting layers. Keep that in mind. Okay. So I'm going to turn them off and make sure the choir member is selected. Get in here and see if I can do this relatively quickly. This robe should be not too hard to work on. It's a little easier. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a first attempt. Using that shift key again. Hands are tough because they're small. You got to really get in there. So I'm going to just go around that hand for now. And so this is where, as I said, you have to make a decision to commit certain amounts of time to doing this kind of work because it is time consuming. There's no way around it. I wish it wasn't so. But, and there's lots of different ways that people do selections, as I said, and I would probably do this a different way. But for this class, I think this is a good idea. All right, make this bigger, and then I'll actually have to deal with this hand. Now, when you watch this, obviously a lot of this you could fast forward. You'll need to watch me use an eraser tool doing the same thing over and over again. Almost there. There we go. Part's done. And these are little spots that sometimes are easy to miss. Whoops. Those little teeny bits that you don't see, they're tougher to see. This is like speed erasing in Photoshop. Oh, how are we doing? Oops. Hand looks a little, that pointer finger looks a little cut off, but oh well. And you can see like it's useful. Like I'm very comfortable with using my left hand on the keyboard. I always have my kind of left hand in a rest position by the keys that I'm used to using, and it's something that you should try to like build some comfort with over time the more you use a tool like Photoshop. because it definitely helps. As you can see, I'm not constantly going over and clicking tools. I'm just sticking with the one eraser tool and moving around. All right, here we go. Let's see how it works. Oh, yeah. All right, she's too big. Let's go back and make her smaller again. There we go. That's pretty good, right? So now she kind of blends in. And we're done. Whew. Wow, okay. So now that we're done, we had 3 layers. We added a layer, which you don't have to do, but I thought it'd be fun. You could work harder. We could place Britney here and instead cut out this character in front. But when you're done, we have to export. So this is a Photoshop file, and you can save this Photoshop file, church choir and Britney. But a Photoshop file is a layered set of assets. It's actually quite large. The doc is 58.5 megabytes, but all the assets separately make a total of 105 megabytes. It's not a single image. It's literally multiple images contained within this Photoshop file. So we need to export this. So we're going to say File, Export, Save for the web. And it's going to bring up this separate tool. And don't worry, you can't see anything. We can zoom out so you can see it. And we're going to make this a JPEG. Right now, it's still a 3 megabyte. And actually, you know what? This is a huge file. We don't need to be this big. I'm going to change the image size. Instead of it being 5,000, let's just make this something like just 2,000. All right? Because this is going on the web. And that's still a very big file. And you can see that's still it. That's it at 100% still. All right. So File, Export, Save for web. And now it's only 760K at a quality of 60%. We can make it a little higher. And you got to make sure that JPEG is selected because GIF could be selected. And GIF is what you want to select if you're exporting animated GIF. So we say JPEG, 1.5 megabytes is nice. We say Save, Church Choir and Britney on the desktop, Save. And now we have on the desktop our combined single file. All right, and that you can upload. Wow, that took a while. Sorry, that took so long.